Hope you can hear me okay, and hopefully you can see my starter slide as well. We're going to be having people joining us, I think, as we kind of go through make start. We'll make start on time, and we want to try and keep to time. So again, thanks for joining us. Hopefully you can see my slides transitioning. So I'm Chris Booth, Head of Commercial Business Strategy for ITHealth. I'm going to be hosting this morning's webinar. I'm joined by Andre. Andre, do you want to say hi?
Of course. Thank you, Chris. Hi there, everyone. I am super excited to be here with all of you today. So thank you for having me, Chris, and the IT Health team.
Thanks, Andre. And I'm joined by my colleague, Andy Sherritt. Some of you will know Andy's kind of helping me out with some admin in the background, and he's going to help field the questions.
Just from a housekeeping point of view, obviously you've joined as attendees, so muted naturally. Please do post questions using the chat function. I'll be monitoring those throughout, and there'll be an opportunity to unmute towards the end for the Q&A.
Thanks, Andy. Cheers. Okay, so why Heimdal? Those of you that use the ITHealth Dashboard, which is now deployed in approximately 150 organisations across NHS England, will be aware that we've been talking about a lot of integrations that we've got within the dashboard, which I'll touch on shortly. But one of the areas that we were keen to pursue was remediation and look at how we might integrate tools into doing that. And we got speaking to Heimdal a few months ago, and we kind of concluded that we got some great commonalities within our solution sets. And also we'd also got some joint customers, some of whom we had hoped to have on the call today, but they couldn't make it, who got both products, and we did some integration and some use case testing, and it worked really, really well. So we wanted to open that up to all of our customers, and those of you who are maybe not yet customers as well. And this session is more about how that might work and what we're doing together. I wanted to just start with some kind of interesting and slightly worrying news, not to spread any fear, uncertainty and doubt, but to look at some of the threat predictions that have kind of been coming out over the last couple of months, really. And it's interesting to note that the top one, the distributed denial of service attack, on steroids, as I would call it, as we've actually already seen that happen. There was something on the cybersecurity, I think last week. A vendor was saying that they'd spotted a 5.6 terabit per second DDoS attack, which basically, if your edge, edge devices are not up to that, then there is a chance we're going to take that down. But we're also seeing, C2 command and control attacks, DNS attacks, which are now heavily augmented, far more complex than they were. We're seeing things like mutated zero-day attacks. So rather than one attack, you get hit by one, and then there's multiple attacks come off the back of that. Obviously, legacy is still an issue within the market that we all love and work in. I've done for many years, even down to Win32, and then AI being used by those bad actors. So it's important that we understand what that looks like. It's important that we understand what that means to us all and how we can address those things. As I often say, those of you that know me well will hear me say, we have to all get it right every time. The bad people only have to get it right once. So it's important that we understand what we've got, how it works, and then how we can remediate, which is what we're going to come into later on. We will share these slides afterwards as well, so that should help you. There's a lot of hype in the market at the moment. Even CAF talks about not taking a silver bullet approach, because there is no silver bullet. It needs multiple layers to address some of these issues. And this is a slide that I've used before, which actually kind of addresses that. It's actually coming from the University of Bristol, from what's called CyBOC. And they talk at the centre of this about having knowledge about your assets, having visibility, understanding your configurations, understanding all that information, threat intel, deep threat intel, not just, is it a cyber alert, what CVEs, but going much deeper than that. And then from that, then building out your processes and policies to help you manage things that may or may not happen, hopefully not, as you go forward. And if you look on the outside edge, we see things like SOAR, SIEM, SOC, all those things are on the outer edge. But actually at the center of this, we need to understand what we've got, and that helps us then understand where we need to apply our resources, which are very limited and time consumed, and how we do that in a way that makes sure we address the key points and the key vulnerabilities on our estate. Again, this is a mantra we've had at ITL for many, many years now. You can't protect what you can't see. I go further to say if you can't understand it, then you don't really know what to do with it. But we go much further than that now. We talk about trying to identify the biggest risk right now. And that comes with a number of different ways of processing vulnerabilities on assets, understanding the nature of them, what they are, where is it, what's it connected to. And then once you understand that, then of course we can then think about how we might remediate it, which we're going to come on to. So the ITHealth Dashboard, this product has now been out since 2017. In fact, I sat down only last week with one of the original trusts that we worked with to develop it. It's now moved into its new version. It's got many more features. We had a major release went out on the 20th of January, which added much more kind of capability to the dashboard. And it's all about getting that single version of truth, single pane of glass, whatever you want to kind of put it, and looking at that deep asset intelligence and then understand it, and then not limiting you with that data in any way, shape or form. So you can kind of dice and slice it as you see fit. If you don't want to view it in here, are you running BI reporting? Can we help you pull that data out? Got some good examples of that as well. I've already mentioned we're deployed in approximately 150 organizations. It'll probably be hopefully 160 by the end of March. And really, again, it's back into how do we get that full picture? How do we understand the risk? How do we improve efficiencies? Where can the dashboard help you close that gap between cyber and IT ops? Trying to get everybody using the dashboard that's within the organization that's relevant. And then that last one has really come home to us in terms of the move from DSPT 6 to 7 in CAF, with a full workflow improvement program project capability inside it, and then able to underpin other compliance and assurance requirements as well. But some real powerful tools in there. It's also important to remember that the dashboard is agnostic. It doesn't care what kind of asset is there. It will discover all assets, whether they be infrastructure, whether they be legacy in nature, whether they're on or off network. And this is a great way of describing that. The dashboard sitting at the center of the universe here. It's pulling in data. We continue to use Landsweeper on the hood. We believe it's the right product. We only use the starter license. It gives us a real strong view of all those assets, very deep insights into those assets. But then we might want to augment it. You might want to augment it with medical device. And most of you will know that I prefer part of this scenario. And that's working really, really well to get that data in from medical IoT devices. And then we kind of look at where else is there information that might be useful to augment that risk perspective. So we look at things like tying into Software Central as an example, or tying into MDE to get that additional information about those assets. Over on the right-hand side here, we then, we've been hooked into the national tenant for MDE now for some time. Again, augmenting that view. Again, identifying off-network devices. If they're not there, then how do we report on them? How do we understand their risk? And then examples of infrastructure tying into Cisco DNA. Contrast and compare. What does that say as to what's been found on the network? Are there devices that are on network that are not in here? And we'll see that in a second when we come on something called blind spot. And then backup system integration. When was it last backed up? When was it last restored? All that kind of information. And then more recently, a full interface into Active Directory allows us to do things like what we call user bubbles. Who's using what devices and where? And then latterly, right up to today, integration into remediation. Heimdal we're going to talk more about, but also things like Intune, that national stack that's available for you from NHS England via that central contract. Again, bringing it all together. And then obviously outbound, do you want to connect it up and pull that data into your BI solution? And we'll see how that works a little bit later. Just a quick recap on some of the features that exist. And bear in mind, this is in a single package, single, relatively low cost, fixed cost approach over the duration of the contract. We're not into nickel and diming people. We're not into adding modules and charging anymore. It's all included in the package. So better risk insights using things like known exploit prevention, exploit prediction scoring system. We talked about integration quite a lot already. KPI module, where are we last week, the week before, or a custom date range. Monthly reports are still sent out, or you can schedule those. In fact, we're now into underpinning trust assurance board meetings, sending out reports via email an hour before the meeting, which has gone down really well. Lifecycle management, there's no limit on the number of assets you can keep in the dashboard or the duration you want to keep them. So we now can move into full lifecycle asset management, and therefore on into CMDB as well. So whether they're in stock or disposed, we can manage that from there and in. Service groups and information asset register. putting all of your information in about your suppliers and then linking them to the assets that those systems use. A good example might be imaging. What's in there in terms of the information? What accreditations do they have? Have they got DTAC, DPIA, CE+, etc., etc.? Then link it to the assets that are being used by that product. Blind spot, we're going to see that in a short while. I'll explain more about that when we look at that as well. The new CAF workflow module is unbelievably good. We've got some great feedback from that, from a lot of IG managers, DPOs, who have said we don't know how we were able to do our submission without it. I'll come on to that before we finish later. We've now pulled in full MFA, RBAC. We've also got tenanted capability. So if you're an organization looking after multiple organizations, then you can either see them individually or you can see them in totality at enterprise level. Cyber reporting is obviously improved on that. We're going to talk about patching and how we look at that, and then the insight pages, which again are fantastic in terms of getting into the detail very, very quickly, understanding the nature of your risk. The one thing I would say about the dashboard, which has become very, very front and center in our minds, is that although it comes out of the box as a standard product, it very quickly gets tailored to your exact requirement. What are your vulnerabilities? What do you have? And if you look at the way in which, as an example, cyber alerts are issued, we can go much further with those. We can tell you much more information about a cyber alert because we're looking at your information. We're looking at, well, you are in your dashboard because it shows it's on premise. You're looking at your information and it's able to give you a very tailored view of you and how you are affected by those vulnerabilities. Okay, it gives me a chance to stop talking now. I'm going to stop. Do you want to start? Do you want to take the share, Andre, and I'll hand over. I'll be back later.
Of course.
All yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris, for that. Okay, over to Heimdal. First of all, again, hi there, everyone. Happy to be here with you. It's quite an honor to talking to so many NHS organizations. If anyone visited the cybersecurity conference for NHS last June, you might have seen me around over there. We had an interesting panel debate. But it's a pleasure coming back and back again to talk to NHS. Now, as Chris mentioned, there's this concept of a silver bullet when it comes to compliance, to security, and so on and so forth. And I gotta say, up until this particular session, up until seeing what the ITHealth Dashboard does, I was actually of the same impression that there's no silver bullet when it comes to you being compliant or you being able to take a report out of the box to show CAF compliance, Cyber Essentials, NIST, NIS, whatever, right? But I'm actually very happy to see that the ITHealth Dashboard actually does that for you. Now, what I wanted to talk to you all about today is what is Heimdal, and to just underline and reinforce why Chris and the ITHealth team has decided to partner up. Well, Heimdal is a Danish cybersecurity vendor. A few of you might already know about Heimdal. We have the widest XDR set in the market, which basically means that with one agent and one management console, you can control everything, which is not as easy and normally would take a lot of effort from your energy, right? So with Heimdal, and let me put a pointer option over here. Where's pointer? Here, not pen. Pointer, laser pointer, perfect. With Heimdal all-in-one, you have cloud security, network, endpoint, vulnerability management, PAM, managing your admin rights, email security, threat hunting, and you can also manage your endpoints. So now you might imagine why, when it comes to remediation, the ITHealth organization has decided to partner up with Heimdal, because when it comes to remediation, there's so much power that is available just due to this one product. Now, a product is as good as it is trusted by the market. So in this example, we have lots of good customers leveraging us to do their security, including quite a few NHS trusts already. We cover a global scale, and what's most important on this slide is this part right here, right? So you can cover as much as you want, you can do as much as you want. If the users of your service/product don't love it, then there's a bit of a situation going on over there. For now, at least, and this is also for the foreseeable future, our users love the product, right? So that is why we have an advantage to the market, because our product is so easy and it's so enjoyable to use that it makes a real difference. Now, you might be wondering what are the individual products under all of this. So when it comes to individual products, and by the way, you don't need to remember these slides. All of these can be shared with you after the session. You just need to ask the IT team, and they will give it to you. So the IT Health team. When it comes to individual products, just to name a few, you have DNS security both at the network level and endpoint level. You have antivirus, which works on top of the Defender interface. So that means that you can benefit from your already existing Microsoft Defender deal. Ransomware encryption protection, patch and asset management, the PAM space where you control who has admin rights, what applications are allowed to run, so on and so forth. Email, threat hunting, unified endpoint management, which some of these, like BitLocker scripting and USB management, these are free of charge added value features on top of any Heimdal product you have. Remote desktop is separate. And of course, the platform as a whole, as well as the managed services on top of it. Now, this session is not for me to describe Heimdal to you in full, because I would need quite a few hours of your time, and I don't know if this is the right moment to do this. However, what we wanted to talk about here is how we, not being a silver bullet, but being very useful, assist you with the CAF framework coverage. So when it comes to CAF, this is very, very important for the region in which you guys operate. Now, it has a few sections in which products such as Heimdal can do a massive impact in, such as in the governance section. By the point A, which is board direction, we enable board-ready risk visibility. Also, you have based access control, custom alerts, real-time risk visibility for critical decision making. Then when it comes to risk management, you have a third-party and OS vulnerability reporting and also patching, remote script capabilities so that you can deploy your configs or change them very, very fast from the moment you realized that something is not as you were expecting it to do. Then in the assurance, you have real-time cybersecurity health data. I would not put this at the level of the ITHealth Dashboard. However, it's still the basis that you can run from. Then when it comes to asset management, you have one of the most extensive visibilities on computers and servers that you have the Heimdal agent installed on. And when it comes to supply chain, this is very, very interesting because supply chain is one of the big risks. We actually had a webinar last Thursday on supply chain attacks. So with supply chain, we will definitely help you with visibility over all the software that's installed on your systems. Then you will also have the benefit of clean third-party patching because we take the patch, we check it for malware before we launch it to you. Then you have visibility over all the software executions that take place on your systems, which give you massive control. Ability to deploy zero trust, ability to even limit the applications to where they're allowed to connect and what they're allowed to start in your computer, which is called fencing in the regular terminology. Now, when it comes to the B points, like policies, processes, and procedures, we help you develop the complex policies based on all that the products can do. But again, as Chris mentioned very well, no security product, and this is the actual strong point, no security product is a silver bullet. A security product sitting as the base and something like the ITHealth Dashboard on top of it, then you have the special package for something like CAF, right? However, the complexity of the security product and the ease of use should enable you to deploy your policies and procedures and processes that you have tailored to your specific unique needs. Then you also have real-time data, audit trails, so that you can support and monitor the implementation and to make sure that any changes are notified and visible. Then when it comes to identity access and control, you have a few special products in the Heimdal segment, which will definitely help you. I know that a few NHS trusts already use them, like Privilege Account and Session Manager, Privilege Access Management, and so on. Device management, you have real-time cybersecurity data to ensure that the trusted devices that you operate on are not compromised. When it comes to privileged user management, this is a category by itself. I won't even touch it right now, but you have full visibility to all the login accounts on an endpoint or a server. You have the ability to remove all admin rights with a click of a button. Then also to grant permission only to specified applications or to specified users, either through an approvals flow or automatically. But then you limit the other rights towards the rest of the organization. Where actually Heimdal shines as a security product is in the data and system security. All data that we covered is encrypted with a double encryption, both in transit and at rest. And when it comes to the system security, since this is the place where we shine the most, you can operate with Heimdal to deploy a secure by design type of approach, because it will massively reduce your attack surface. Consider all those modules you've seen earlier, right? Each of them will drastically reduce the attack surface in their respective layers. So after that, you also get to see the live data to test your resilience, to see how powerful is my cybersecurity policy as a whole. If my cybersecurity policy was deemed strong by me, but then I see a lot of attacks happening, a lot of phishing emails or anything like that, I will have real-time data to know exactly what's the effect of my security policy. Then when it comes to secure configurations, that's an area in itself. What we will always help you with is the managing of your endpoints, which means that you have that remote scripting, which you can then deploy to all your machines that have Heimdal installed, so that you can deploy your secure configurations. When it comes to secure management, then you have remote management of the Windows Defender and firewall on the endpoint. You will see any changes in that. You will protect versus brute force attacks. You have visibility over all the DNS traffic that happens, ability to lock down internet traffic, and also ability to deploy multi-layer security very easily to your endpoints and servers. In vulnerability management, we already covered this because we do the patching. Then when it comes to resilient networks and systems, we help you with the preparation for being resilient. And when it comes to awareness and training, we have lots of super useful materials, as well as a vibrant community that does webinars, community meetings, and so on and so forth, spars on ideas, and so on. Then we also assist you with the C point and D point. So with the C in monitoring and coverage, considering the wideness of the platform and all that it is able to capture, this is a good opportunity so that you can see all the things that are happening in your environment. When it comes to proactive security event discovery, we have multiple technologies that will assist with that as well. But again, going into that will cover 1 hour, so we don't do that now. Then when it comes to the D point, incident response and lesson learned, Heimdal automates a lot of actions that would normally be manual, done by the actual team that does the incident response. And just to name a few: zero trust execution protection, device isolation automatically upon some detections, blocking any type of encryption that is trying to happen at the computer level, and so on. And using all these tools, you can do an amazing root cause analysis and see exactly where did this threat come from initially, because the moment it came in and the moment or process that it actually starts the attack are two whole different dimensions, right? So you can do a root cause analysis. However, when it comes to any security product, the bread and butter is the system security, because that's why it's a security product, right? If you want and if you need, and I see that a lot of the NHS trusts are already using this based on Chris's slide. If you need something that is tailor specific to your region, that does the job in a specific way, and you can directly file for the CAF framework compliance and all of that, a security product is not a silver bullet. But what is a silver bullet, in my own opinion, and this is something that changed in my mind just these days when seeing what the IT Health Dashboard does, is something like the IT Health Dashboard, because that's made for people from the region, people that understand what you guys are going through whenever you're doing these filings and whenever you need to check all those boxes. And I believe that the UK ecosystem is at an advantage versus the rest of the world, considering that products like this, you don't find them all over the place, right? So that's what I wanted to say about the CAF coverage. Also, when it comes to security versus compliance framework coverages. And moving forward, by the way, guys, I don't see if there are any questions. So if there are any questions, please stop me along the way. I don't mind.
Yeah, thanks. There's nothing to throw just yet. There was a couple of questions more on the IT Health Dashboard side. But yeah, that's a good prompt, Andre, just to say to everyone, yeah, if you do post some questions, we'll look to answer them for you.
That's perfect. I don't see the actual Teams window right now, so that's why I wanted to make sure I don't
that's fine.
jump.
I'll keep an eye on that for you.
Thank you. So with that, I want to go into the next segment over here just a bit, which would be a practical overview of the actual system itself. So just to show you guys, just a second, let me see how to I screen share this right here with you guys. Let me get back here. I'll stop the sharing for a second, make sure I show the right window, and then I'll continue the screen sharing. Okay, I was missing the right window. That's why I couldn't find it. Good. So what you're seeing right now on the screen, which should be loaded in a few seconds, is the Heimdal Dashboard login. And we're going to cover just one product out of all of those, which is the patch and asset management. And I'll cover this very quickly for everyone. So when it comes to the patch and asset manager, I will open a configuration policy so that I can show you all the functionalities that you can use out of this, right? So this is how I would configure a policy. I see all the added value features over here, but we'll just zoom into patch and asset management. Well, when it comes to this, considering this is a short tour, I need to tell you guys just a few things. First of all, this covers third-party patch management, so basically all the apps that are installed within your system, and it also covers the actual OS itself. When it comes to how we're covering this, when it comes to the technology behind this, these are approached a bit differently in order to ensure maximum effectiveness. The first one, we collect all the packages from all these vendors that you see in this list, and the list is huge. It's about 200 apps already. I think we're going towards 300. And whenever one of these packages is made available, our engineers check it for malware. They make sure it can function and update silently so that you're not interrupted, your users are not interrupted from their day-to-day very important activities that they're doing, and only then it is made available for global update. This takes us an average usually 4 hours from the moment of the release, but we will always make sure that whatever you're installing does not have any malware, backdoor, and so on and so forth. Aside of its core functionality, which is to keep things up to date, you can use this to push install. You can use this to create a software catalog. And of course, you can also allow the user to delay the install if they ever need so. You can allow them to version lock or even rollback. Now, aside of this list, which is huge, You can also add more things to this as you see fit through the engine called Infinity Management. It's a quick add-on to this and allows you to add in your list applications that just appeared, the ones with the lighter color at the start of the column. Now, you also can do some scheduling, uninstalling, and so on and so forth. But when you look at how this does its job, this is actually where things get interesting. You see a full list of the latest activity immediately. You can see what is currently outdated, and if it has a risk, you will see it attached over here. And you can also go back and see what was historically out of date so that you can report back to compliance if you ever need to. When it comes to compliance, you already have the Cyber Essentials built in here, so you can simply check if you were compliant in a certain date for a certain machine or so on and so forth. However, my favorite functionality, that thing with the visibility that Chris was mentioning, that's very important. Knowing where your risks sit is kind of one of the most important things out there. So you actually get a full diagram of everything that is installed within your environment. And you can see how many endpoints, how many servers have that particular application. So this is something that gives you guys, empowers you to operate at a different level. And I believe that this is one of the main reasons that our team and the IT Health team have partnered up, right? Because they're helping you operate at a different level. So they need partners that can do the same. And this is just the third-party patch management. When it comes to the OS, you have all the capabilities that you could imagine, right? So you can schedule, you can delay, you can automatically install, you can manually install, depending on your wishes, or you can meet the process in between. Automatically install everything that is of, let's say, low risk, and only manually approve the ones that are high risk so that you don't have your computers going crazy on you all of a sudden, right? Example, you don't automatically do drivers because that can mess up and do a print nightmare situation, which happened in the last few years. You won't do upgrades manually, right? Because those would actually impact you a lot. So this is just the view of it. You'll see simply what has been installed on how many endpoints, what is currently being installed or approved and waiting for the machine, and what is not yet installed nor approved. And if you ever need to do an approval, it's as simple as clicking this button. You install it and approve it for everyone in the future, or you just zoom into one group of machines. So that granularity and control is all over the place. And as with the third party patching, you also see a full list of your assets, meaning what updates have been installed. And compliance, right? So this is just a quick tour of how you would do this. It's simple. It's made to work for you rather than made to make you work for it, which is, in my opinion, one of the most important things, right? You need time back so that you can focus on what's the biggest priority. You don't need to have time taken away from you when you implement a tool or anything like that. It needs to work for you, not the other way around. And with that, I'm gonna get back to my slide over here because I want to introduce all of you to the person that's behind the relationship between Heimdal and NHS, and also behind the relationship between Heimdal and the IT Health team. So unfortunately, this person could not be with us today because, and this is one of the most powerful reasons why you would miss such a thing, he was newly promoted to the role of father. So everyone, I would like you to at least virtually meet Frederick. He is our head of enterprise on UK and Ireland. He has been managing the relationship between us and our NHS customers and all the key strategic partners within the territory. And he also had a message for you guys because he was very sad that he couldn't be here today. So what we did is I actually recorded a video interview with him that the IT Health team will share with you guys after the session when the post-session email flies to you. There's also a link with a nice interview done by Frederick to wash away the shame that he is not here. but I bet that everyone would understand why he couldn't be here. So he has one of the most interesting jobs in the world right now, right? Being a father or a parent. But he had a segment that he really, really wanted me to show you guys. This is something that he built, and he wanted me to make sure I tell you guys what are like the benefits for NHS, or maybe for the new system with central procurement and central management when it comes to Heimdal. So considering he worked so much on this, I am honored to be the one sharing it with you. So first of all, multi-tenancy at zero cost. So what you saw earlier, my portal, that is a level 2 portal, and I can zoom into any of my level 1s that I have without any additional cost. I can have my users configured in the way I need them. User 1 can service three level 1s, user 2 can service another, and so on and so forth. Then you have total streamlining of third-party patching. And you can actually do this for all the trusts at once if you want to manage multiple trusts. The cloud patching is a secured distribution. So you cannot have anyone inserting any type of weird malware in between, because everything is fully secured from the place of where the patch goes from, where it's created, up until the place the patch is received and applied. Then you also have the same level of streamlining when it comes to OS patching, followed by super consolidation of items such as BitLocker management, scheduled script deployment, massive inventory advantages when it comes to seeing what's going on your computers and information about your computers. And I would also add USB management, again, from a central approach. Cross-tenant reporting, this can be easily obtained. So asset information, vulnerability information, patching that was done, new applications installed, and also role-based access control. Then you have super easy operation between the trusts, as well as testing all the time the packages that are being delivered to you by Heimdal. Whatever Heimdal takes and delivers to you through their global content delivery network is all the time being tested for any type of malware. And just a quick outline, the patch is released, Heimdal engineers take it, then they test it for malware, they do a deployment test, then and only then the patch is made available. And then, of course, after the patch takes effect on your computer, the Heimdal interface will always report you back. So in a nutshell, this is how we at Heimdal have put our effort and best foot forward to support organizations such as the NHS. Chris, if we don't have any questions here.
We do have some questions, yeah.
Okay.
So Martin, thanks for your question. So it was whether there was any examples or use cases of people integrating Heimdal with the NHS Microsoft tenant for policy changes, amendments, management.
Okay, let me find the question. It's this one from Martin, right?
Yeah, so the NHS as a whole is using, yes, some trusts have got their own Microsoft products, and but all trusts have got access to the NHS central tenant, which is a Microsoft instance which covers the whole of the NHS. So it's just to see if there's any use cases of Heimdal integrating with that.
So when it comes to the actual Microsoft engine, the Heimdal security engine, the antivirus and advanced threat protection, works on top of that by default. So you will still benefit from that fully, but you will get a supercharge on it. And I believe there are already some use cases with customers that are using this. So I believe this can be shared after the session, and I believe I have some colleagues here in the audience, like Claire, that can actually make sure that happens. But there are live use cases, Martin, so that can be for sure shared with you. Then I can I read all the other questions?
Yeah, go ahead. I mean, I guess at some point we could just unmute the attendees just to make sure we clarify anything. But yeah, if you go ahead, there was a question from Andy as well.
Okay, let's see. The question from Andy. I am aware that your system has been used to save bailout trusts after they were compromised in the last couple of years. Yes, we're sorry that they have been compromised, but we are happy to be able to pitch in. Do you have any learning or even thinking of this kind of deployment, trying to drag the organization's posture up quickly? Yes, when it comes to this, the first thing that we should always do is look at the basic attack surfaces that are left unattended. It will show you wonders when you do a secure configuration on top of something and just remove the basic attack vectors by limiting the attack surface. Only that, if you do, you will have amazing results. And I bet Chris and the IT Health team can assist with that, since this is what they do day in and day out. Then let's see if we have any other. We have somebody asking, let's see, what was that with power management?
Yeah.
I saw here somewhere. Does the Heimdal solution or agent provide power management options so that the patching can be coordinated out of hours to reduce the impact? We have a wake on LAN ability. However, that needs to have the NIC card having that capability to allow the power up on LAN. If not, what it will do is it will provide the exercise, the patching exercise, in your scheduled window. And if it misses the scheduled window, it will wait for the next one. We can definitely configure that and look at it together so that we can make it work. But if you want to power up any computer in the world from anywhere it is, and it doesn't have that capability on its NIC card, then you won't be able to do that. Let's see. What else? I think we have one from Chris. Looks good. Would the 100% be useful to see live demos from a typical NHS customer setup with the key features demoed? Okay. And how these will feed into the IT Health Dashboard. So I believe, Chris, this is the best moment.
Perfect. Thanks, Chris, for setting that one up for me.
It's like Chris set us up for this one. So could you please let us know, Chris, what are the joint customer experiences, and also what will this integration bring?
Cool. Thanks, Andre. Hopefully everybody can see my slides I've now reshared. So Kevin Orrit, who's the ICT Security Manager, Greater Manchester Mental Health, was hoping to be with us today to kind of talk about this himself, but unfortunately he couldn't make it. So I asked him if he was happy for us to kind of share some wording. And again, we're going to send the slides out to you, but effectively, he's had the dashboard now for about 5 years. He's had Heimdal for several years now. And we've been talking to him as well as other people. Some of them are named on here in terms of how that integration might work, which I'm going to cover off in a second. But effectively, it's understanding where there might be blind spots and where we don't have visibility of assets, and therefore is Heimdal doing what it's supposed to do? Because they are distinctly different systems and they are designed to do different jobs. Obviously happy to talk more about that. Now, in terms of that integration, those of you who are familiar with the dashboard, the latest release, will hopefully be familiar with what we call asset blind spot. And up to last week, we had asset blind spot for missing integrations in the dashboard, i.e. where were assets spotted in the dashboard that were not seen in MDE as an example, or if you're running Sophos and as an example, not seen in Sophos. And now we can see here that we've added other capabilities. So assets not seen, or they've been seen in the dashboard, but have been missing from either one or the other system. Now, what that allows us to do is, again, we need to bear in mind here that this is about specific systems to do specific functions. And it's important that, people talk about not having all their eggs in one basket, and people kind of staying in their lane and doing what they're good at doing, which is why the integration is so important to us. And those multiple tools all working together then give us much more capability, give you much more capability. So we can see here assets missing. If I jump to the next screen, what we can see here are assets that are effectively missing. But if we look at the information, hopefully you can see it. We've got the device, which we would be able to click into and see all the great granular detail that's behind that. what the device type is it healthy? We've got one down here, not installed in the red. When it was last seen. Now, the concept of global last seen, again, is really important. When was it last seen? Was it seen by MDE? Was it seen by the dashboard? Has it been seen by Heimdal version? And then what is the current policy that's been set up? Is it a patching only policy? Is it a test policy, full software management policy? And then any other information that's relevant that we're pulling from Heimdal. So this is the first phase of the integration, the ability to understand where assets are not being seen. And the logic is quite simple. If an asset has not been seen and is not healthy within Heimdal, then it's not able to do the job. And we're looking at that overarching picture from within the dashboard. So what we're trying to do is draw customers' attention, users' attention to assets not visible, where they're not seen, and therefore you need to focus your attention on those to make sure that they are doing. The rest of it is then Heimdal doing the job it's supposed to do, working with within all the facets that Andre shares. So this is the first stage of the integration. We've got other plans to integrate that, and obviously we want to take feedback from all of our customers in terms of how you might want to understand how this might work. And again, on that point, that's how the dashboard has become what it is today. It's based on feedback from sessions like this, from our user forums, from our drop-in sessions. We've got one this week on Friday, where we engage with all of our customers in that kind of regular community and pull that information back and continue to enhance the solution. So that's the first step of the integration, and hopefully that kind of is helpful. I want to spend a little bit of time, if I may, just kind of closing off some of the things that we've talked about in terms of things like CAF. Now, from a point of view of CAF, from Andre's description, that's all about understanding where Heimdal can help you with the things that are in CAF. What we have done within the dashboard is create a specific module that allows you to manage your submission and your audit. We're currently going through the audit report. We're engaging with IG leads and DPOs, a number of customers, in terms of how that might work. But as it stands at the moment, the module is there. It's in everybody's dashboard that's got it. It's included in the package, and it's really there to help you create that submission. So here's some words from Mark. Some of you may know Mark. Basically, it's about continual improvement. It means we don't need to be doing it, when it's required. We can work through it in a very sensible, pragmatic way, and it allows us to do things like manage tasks. So if you take on board the fact that if you're familiar with CAF on the NHSE website, you basically can say you're compliant or not compliant or partially compliant with the whole of the section of the individual objectives A through to E. There's no ability to task allocate or sub-task allocate within those sections. But clearly within CAF, a lot of the data will need to be collated from multiple different people. It might be that you're asking about assets. It might be you're asking about management policies and procedures. It covers a lot of ground. And again, Andre explained to us how Heimdal could underpin that to give you that evidence. So why did we create that module? We wanted to make a very quick impact on adapting. There's things like tools to map DSPT6 into CAF using the loose mappings from NHS England. Enhance your compliance, make sure your IGPs are thoroughly tracked. Of course, once you've done this and submitted it, then you've got that evidence from this year and next year. To improve accountability, to mean you can task allocate to those people, as I say, streamline the process, be ready for audit, and then when the audit comes, much easier to understand what you've said, much easier to process that, and make it very collaborative. So it's not down to one individual person pulling it all together. So how does it work? We can see here on the screen A to E in terms of our objectives. We can very quickly look at the principles. We're looking at B here, so we can see the required status set by NHS England. They are aware of this work, by the way, but we're trying to talk to them about an interface into them as well. Current status is not achieved. When was it last updated, and who was it updated by? We can go and we can view them. We can then look at a complete picture in terms of where we are in terms of our achievement. When it was last modified, has it been reviewed by anybody? That can all be flagged inside. People can be allocated. Has it been approved? Has it been uploaded to NHS England? And when was it uploaded? And of course, all the export tools and capabilities are in there. We've also, as part of the new release that went out on the 20th, there's now a high-level overview page which gives you a graphical representation of exactly where you are against each objective and each principle. So it's very easy to see that. It's very easy to share that with colleagues. or with senior members of the SLT, let's say, as to where we are. But again, it's a continual improvement process. So there's a lot in there. There's a lot to unpack. We'll be happy to obviously take that offline and discuss that with anybody on a kind of a more of a one-to-one basis, because there's a lot to kind of understand. But that is all about creating your submission, doing your submission, and then obviously then being able to review that going forward. So again, any questions, please fire them into the chat, or we'll take them offline.
Thanks, Chris. I just, Andre, conscious you might have to drop off soon. I just wanted to enable Martin's mic just so that we could just make sure we were clear about that Microsoft NHS tenant integration. So, Martin, you should have the ability to unmute yourself now. Do you want to just expand a little bit on your question, just because I think we should be able to clarify how things go together?
Yeah, perfect. Thanks, Andy. I guess really it's just trying to understand, obviously, with that national NHS central tenancy, so whether we've got our own tenant or using the national one in its entirety, we're kind of mandated to basically enforce a number of policies from that central tenant and report into the MDE instance, obviously, which gives that national viewpoint. So it was really just trying to understand if there are any kind of functions within your product that you're aware of, any kind of policy clashes or issues where those central tenant configuration policies and setup piece impacts the functionality of your product, really.
Okay, thank you, Martin, for clarifying that. So basically, this is not exactly integrated in the central tenant. What can actually happen is the central management can have the level 2 account. You can have the level 1 account. They can also cascade to you, but you can also have full control over what you need to do at the same time. So this happens at the same time without you needing to give them anything else, any additional access. You can have your main control, but then they can also cascade from their level downwards to you. And I know that our head of enterprise in the territory loves this use case. So he would be more than happy to meet with you and discuss it further to show you exactly how this would work. And again, it can work at the same time. You have full control over your layer, but they can also cascade to your layer what are their suggested policies and so on and so forth, which you can use just as a baseline to configure further what are your specific trust use cases.
No, fantastic. I really appreciate that follow-up conversation. I think it would be really helpful. So yeah, if we could arrange that, that would be brilliant. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, just from my side, Martin, it's sort of my non-technical view. We do have obviously a number of NHS customers that are using Heimdal, kind of various layers of the product, whether that's the patch deployment or the PAM or the device control. We're not seeing any sort of clash as such. Yeah. Also not really seeing a need for integration in that sense with the central tenant. Obviously, from an ITHealth Dashboard point of view, the reason we did the integration with the central tenant was really to enrich the data that was in the ITHealth Dashboard so we can kind of supplement what Landsweeper's giving us. But from a Heimdal point of view, they're kind of sitting at another layer to do some of that actual implementation and patching. So yeah, there's certainly no clashes. Whether there's an opportunity to integrate, I think would be interesting to discuss further.
Yeah, definitely. I really appreciate that and totally understand that kind of enrichment of data and such forth. So yeah, definitely. I think that the key bit ultimately from my perspective is I'd suggest the central tenant design, it needs to be updated. I think it's a single platform. It's not in a federated kind of approach at that point, which would obviously devolve a little bit more control. But if we're saying we've not seen anything to date, that's brilliant.
There is one more question, Chris, which I'll ask you to take, but just in case we run out of time, I've just pasted a survey link into the chat. I'd be very grateful if all of you could very quickly reply to that, just so we get an idea of how the session went down and kind of gives us feedback for putting it on future webinars. Chris, are you able to quickly address Andy's question about aligning with national audit requirements?
Yeah, I've just seen that, Andy. Thanks, Andy. So we're constantly looking and speaking to the centre in terms of NCSC or NHSE's version of what that looks like. to make sure that the audit requirements are all met and we can, bring that functionality into the dashboard. Obviously, they do change. Those of you that have known us for a long time will know that we move very quickly on those things in terms of making sure that we've got that requirement there. The other thing to say on that point at a strategic level is that we have aligned our business strategy with NHS England's kind of approach in terms of target operating models, and what the direction of travel looks like with that. So that's important that we kind of keep on top of that. We continue to understand that. So yes, the answer to the question is yes, we are doing that and we'll continue to do that. Thanks, Andy. I just want to finish off with a couple of things. Please keep the questions coming in. This is something that we've now released. It's an ICS capability. This effectively is an opt-in, should the ICS want to have this kind of capability, whereby data can be pulled or sent from individual dashboards up to an ICB view. Now, this is something that we've deployed in a couple of areas now. We're looking for further test environments to do this with, but just wanted to make sure that you're aware of it. This effectively gives an ICB view. There's no backward kind of connectivity into your dashboard. This would be an agreed data set between the organisations in the ICB and the ICB in terms of what you all want to see. And then obviously data can then be pulled through from there. And it might be that it's information about patching or risk or OS or cyber alerts or critical software or CAF, of course, in terms of what the CAF progress looks like in terms of that. So just wanted to kind of make sure that you're aware of that as well, if that was something that was on people's agenda, and we're happy to talk about that.
Quick question from Charlie. I can pick this up. So obviously we have, just towards the end, obviously Chris was showing some stuff that's new in the IT Health Dashboard, just conscious that a lot of people on the call are IT Health users. So obviously the main topic for today was Heimdal. We've announced the integration, so people that have got Heimdal can integrate the two tools for the visibility and for that blind spot reporting that Chris demonstrated, but it is reliant on you kind of having the Heimdal product. So, obviously when we did the Microsoft MDE and DAV integration, that everyone already had that as a default from the national agreement, whereas this one with Heimdal, the integration with your IT Health Dashboard is only relevant if you are also a Heimdal customer, or if you're considering becoming a Heimdal customer. I'm sure Chris would be interested to chat to you.
I can add to that I've been involved in a couple of POCs already, and the Heimdal team do a fantastic job of understanding the requirement. Clearly, they've got multiple tools in their armory, but in terms of the patching piece, I've just involved in one recently, and it was very, 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 very powerful, very fruitful. We're able to show kind of how the integration would work at that level, but what it was doing in its own right was great, and that then did lead on to helping them create a business case and then move forward to procurement. So that's one option that's available, as is always been for us with the dashboard. We can run a free POC and help you understand how it would work in your exact requirement and how specifically it would apply to your requirements and challenges that you may or may not have.
I think that's probably a natural wrap-up point. Thanks, Chris. No, there's no other questions. Yep. Obviously, all of you know Chris and I, so do reach out if there's follow-up. As I say, please do complete the survey. We can pick up any actions from there. So if you do want to follow up any sort of pricing or any further information, you can indicate that on there or by contacting Chris and I directly. But yeah, thanks everyone for coming along.